the relationship like with your brother during Bedlam this week? Is it any different?
Well, not really. We don't talk a lot during the season at all. I don't talk to anybody during the season. And sometimes if he needs something, he'll text me. And we'll communicate. You know, our kids play together, and so there's communication that goes on during the season about who's going to pick them up halfway or whatever. But we really don't talk much. Now, we eat dinner together on Thursday, and without getting into that whole scenario again, you know, there's no football allowed to be conversation to go on anywhere in the house, high school, college, or pro. So that eliminates that aspect of the holiday. But Cale and I talk a lot and spend time together in the off season, spring, summer, and our kids are playing ball and things like that, but not much during the week.
Did he text you permission to run the time?
No, I was unaware of that until it got brought to my attention, and so no, I was. He certainly did not. I was unaware of it till people started texting me.
Limitations of talking.
Well, I mean, I guess. You know, I don't know. I mean, that question could go on, and I'll be real honest with you. I didn't even see that part of it. I was in and out and saw parts of the game, but did not catch that part of it. But my phone was buzzing and lighting up from all my buddies that are not in football, just guys that watch the game. So, no, I really don't. There's not really much for me to say about that. So.
Do you get, this week since you grew up here in the state, Mike, do you get more phone calls or text messages this week than you normally would, or does everybody try to leave you alone this week?
I get a lot of text messages and a lot of phone calls, and this gives me an opportunity to let everybody know I have no tickets. So ticket availability is zero. But no, we get a lot of, Kristen and I both get a lot of messages, and both text and voicemail.
Coach Gundy, it seems like Oregon just continues to make big plays and it's kind of the focus of the defense. Can you talk just a little bit about his contribution?
His contribution as a leader has been by far more important to our football team than what he's done on the field. And I know I'm saying that. Everybody's looking at me like here's a guy that's made like 100 tackles. But he has carried this defense mentally and emotionally himself through difficult times from weeks 2 or 3 all the way up through, I don't know, after the Nebraska game. And times when we were at Lafayette and having problems stopping them, winning at halftime. In Kansas, he was really, really good for us. And I'm really excited about, or happy for him, I should say, because of what he's done. He's come a long way, and he's put a lot of work into this program. And the Oklahoma State people should be thankful to him for a long time for what he's done. He's been really good for us.
Like, how far has your team come from game one to right now? And I know they've improved, but has this team improved more than any other you've coached?
Yes. We weren't very good the first month of the year. The concerns that we had as a coaching staff was youth, inexperience at skill positions, and really not knowing what kind of chemistry we had as a group. And we were fortunate the way the schedule fell that we were able to get enough wins and kind of hang on and manage as the season progressed and stay alive. And then we got a little bit better in each area. I'll give a lot of credit to our assistant coaches because they've stayed patient during tough times and handled the players in the right way and coached them and they were teachers and coaches and correct them and built them up and built them up and built them up. And then games 3 through 7 or 8, somewhere in that area, they were playing a lot better than they really were. And so they've now evolved where they're playing pretty good football and they're a pretty good team.
You got guys saying today they're ready to play right now. And sometimes, I know there can be a worry that you're ready to play too early. I mean, does the normal routine, does that kind of help take care of some of that early week anxiety?
Yeah, hopefully. I think that's fairly common at this time because there's so much built up in a game like this, and there's a lot of it because it's Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. But if Oklahoma State was playing another school and our record was 10-1, there'd still be a lot of excitement. So I think that's okay. And when we watch tape and get out of practice and the coaches start to grind on them a little bit, we'll get them back down where they need to be.
You've said before that you kind of prefer to play late morning or early afternoon. With a night game, especially this week with everything that's going on and how big this game is, will that be difficult to keep guys from, getting too excited on not just during the week, but on Saturday with all that nervous energy going on?
Well, there's going to be a lot of nervous energy with both teams, would be my guess, and coaches, and you wait around all day to play. It seems like you wait a week just on a Saturday. But that's the way it is. We're fortunate enough to be playing on prime time and national TV, and I guess it's national TV. And so you have to take, you got to learn to deal with that. I mean, I don't think that – I think most coaches would tell you they like to play at 1 o'clock. They like to get up and have pregame and go through your walkthroughs and go play the game. But there's a huge advantage to playing at 7 o'clock at night. So wherever they tell us to play, that's where we'll show up, and that's when we'll show up.
Mike, do you feel like Shane Jarka has kind of set a tone in terms of toughness, especially for your younger players with what he's been doing?
He falls in the category of Ori Lemon, not as much of a verbal leader as Ori is, but he kind of leads by example. I mean, he just plays every game, and he doesn't get to practice very much, but he shows up. He loves to play the game, and when you have a season like this year, there's a number of players that fit that role. Shane Jark is a guy that could have checked it in 8 weeks ago and nobody would have said anything. But he manages to play throughout the season. And Isaiah Anderson, who's a guy that people thought was not ever going to make a play here, ends up catching however many balls he's caught this year, with 4 or 5 of them being post routes. And the list goes on and on in a season like this. You have people that contribute that you wouldn't think would contribute, and they make big plays, and then your team kind of gels with them. And so the younger players, they see guys like Shane Jarka who are stepping up and fighting through a lot of pain, willing to play the game for the right reasons, and it makes a big difference.
What about Henry McGee?
Yeah, it's another example. There's a list of guys on the team. I mean, the injury he had last year, and he's been playing with – he's got something broken in his hand. He'd had 2 more interceptions if he had 2 hands. And he's had his knee drained I don't know how many times. And there's just something special about guys like that. They're willing to do it. And when you have enough of those guys, your team ends up winning some football games. And I've said this a million times. I've always used the basketball analogy. You got a bunch of guys that'll set screens and dive for loose balls. And that's what this team's made of. We've got some guys that can score 40 now. We've got a few skill guys that are big-time players. But we've got a number of guys that are just willing to do whatever it takes to win.
How are you guys health-wise at this point in the season coming into this game?
We've been healthier in the last month than we've ever been around here. I mean, we've been very fortunate in that we don't practice very much. We're only out there an hour 40 on Tuesday, hour 30 on Wednesday, and 1 hour on Thursday, and that's it. And that was kind of our coaches' staff's plan early in the season, because we had great concerns about the youth of our football team, and we didn't want them to run into that wall mentally and then affect them physically. So we've been fortunate that we've been able to get everybody out on the field.
Mike, at Kansas, your first half troubles sort of came back. I think all told, you played 5 disappointing first halves this year. How do you make sure that doesn't happen Saturday?
I'm not sure. You'd like to attribute part of it to kind of a sandwich game where you had a big win at Texas, and Oklahoma was lurking out there, and Kansas was playing better than what they had earlier in the season, and then you're playing at Kansas, and there's some danger there. You'd like to think that's part of it. I'm not really sure what happens in cases like that, but we were able to come back and rally in the second half, and obviously it made a big difference.
This senior class has won more than any other class so far. Is this your best one?
Well, I hadn't thought about that. Last year was the best senior class we'd had around here in a long, long time. But I guess these guys now, there's not many of them, but they've won a lot of football games. It's been a very good class, no question.
I don't know if you even think about this. I think you were still in high school, if I remember right, in the '84 game. But is this coming up, the biggest Bedlam game that you've ever been a part of?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. They ask that every year. We've had some big ones around here. I'm not sure how you categorize if they're one's any bigger than the other. But this week is a big game, and it's kind of hard to compare them to the rest. They're all pretty big.
Coach, does it feel different coaching big games like this and games like Kansas last week or Tulsa early in the season?
From what perspective?
Does it feel different for you as a head coach?
Oh, I think there's a lot of excitement in the area, and then, as I mentioned earlier, the community on campus, and when you're involved in a game like this, that's different. But from a coaching standpoint, you always worry about special teams and turnovers and tackling and the things that are important in every game. The Oklahoma game, obviously, because of the situation and how talented they are, is a big game. But then you always worry about a Kansas game if you go up there and have a letdown and lose. So it's kind of both sides. For me, it goes on in the back of my head for hours.
Mike, you got a ton of young players, freshmen, and sophomores that are playing. So do they. Both are really good. Is this a deal where we're going to be back here next year, the two of you playing for the title?
Oh, that's really hard for me to predict. I've noticed that we may be the two youngest teams in the league with players who actually impact the outcome of a game. I was happy for us, and I was sad for them. But I would guess that both teams have a chance to be pretty good next year. And then the aspect that you can't really talk about, Barry, is the chemistry. What's the chemistry of the team going to be like next year? And I'll say this and kind of to conclude, but last year's team chemistry was really good. We had all those issues happen. They still were able to win a lot of games. And I had great concerns about this year because I didn't know who was going to step up. And then we come through this year and have a better team chemistry than we had last year. So we've been very fortunate in that area.